So if you've been following my journey on Instagram and TikTok, you know how crazy of a journey has been going from a student to a designpreneur. It's been quite some journey simply because it felt like an eternity, but at the same time, I scaled up so quickly on Instagram, on TikTok, that it's been quite hard to take everything in. In this video, I'm going to outline how exactly I started, all the different tips that I had along the way, and how you can apply some tips for yourself as well. So I started using Photoshop when I was 14, and you may ask why a 14-year-old is using Photoshop. And the reason being is because the church that I was going at the time trusted me to make a poster design. So I guess learning how to use Photoshop came out of necessity. So looking back, I'm so lucky that I said yes to that request. From that first ever request, I didn't stop learning Photoshop. So picture this, I was a 14-year-old on YouTube searching up tutorials and trying to figure out how to use Photoshop, how to get acquainted to certain tools and how to add an image to a different image, how to change color. So pretty much the basic stuff. It took me quite a while to figure out everything because one, I was very young. And the second reason being because at the time, there's not many tutorials at all. So you have to go on YouTube, and then from YouTube, you have to go to different websites on the net and search up the solution for the problem that I was encountering. Throughout all this learning phase, my first ever free clients were family and friends that wanted, a certain image for their birthday, my church that trusted me with even more work. So I went from designing posters to making maybe some logos, revamping the logo of the church at the time. So flash forward to more recent times, I went through college and then I ended up also going to university. In college and university, I picked graphic design. And let me tell you the reason why I picked graphic design. And it might not because I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer. I picked graphic design because it was the easiest thing I could do. I didn't want to spend the entirety of my day doing coursework. What I really wanted to do is have a business. I always had an aim to earn something for myself, never to get a normal job. I always wanted to have something that could go on my own timing. I could organize the work in a certain way I wanted, etc. And I also had a very high standard for myself when it comes to financial goals. I've never seen myself becoming a graphic designer, which is quite funny because now I merged the two, business and design. Hence why Designpreneur. So design and entrepreneur. And the reason why I make a distinction between a normal job as a graphic designer and what I do now as a designpreneur is because many people work for agencies. They are graphic designers, but they work for big companies. And that's what during college and university, they kind of indoctrinate you to do. They bring in big agencies and big companies to illustrate how your path would be after university. But once again, I did not like what I was presented with, especially when it comes to the financial side as well. Let me give you a little bit of a picture on how an agency, a design agency or a big company, if you're a graphic designer, working for them works. So if you're working for a big agency, what essentially they do, so they go to a client that might have like $1 million budget. And of course, as a designer working for this agency, the budgets that they do charge these big companies is not what you getting paid. What you getting paid is your normal salary. If you do a very quick Google search, you're gonna see how low the salaries are, especially if you're a new graduate going into these big agencies. Once again, there's nothing wrong with it because they give you a salary progression. But still, as a designpreneur, which is what I created for myself, so you're able to take the full profit of what you charge your clients. Of course, it's not in the millions per project, like the big agencies are able to go to a big brand and charge, but you're able still to retain 100% of the profits. And you also have location freedom, time freedom, especially if you're able to run it the way I run my business. I won't go in precise detail on how I run my business, how I don't do Zoom calls, how I message clients, how I retain clients, etc. That will be a video for next time. So you being able to retain the budgets that you charge your clients, of course, it makes it way superior than getting a standard salary every year, no matter the amount of work that you're doing. You're actually controlling how much you're able to work. It's almost like a sales job based on commission, But I say it's even better because you retain the full profit that you charge. It's not a percentage. And this is essentially how I've been able to create the perfect job for myself and for many people that I do coach as well. And for those that I coach, that I've been able to also scale the freelance design business from beginners to making $1,000 a week, which if you're consistent with it, with those profit numbers, you're able to make $4,000 a month, which is almost double of what the average is when it comes to new graduates going into these big agencies or working for any graphic-based job. The normal route was just not for me. Going to a 9 to 5 and doing graphic design work with massive workload. Sometimes you do also have to work outside of your working hours on projects that you might not like because they're coming from higher up with very tight deadlines. no matter how much work you're doing, you're getting paid the same. That wasn't an attractive model for me to do. So I came up with my own way to go about graphic design work. Now I'm also to social media on how I've been able to actually do this, get millions of views, being able to scale my Instagram alone in a month to from 1,000 followers to 30,000 followers. Now we are on 40,000 followers. On TikTok as well, getting loads of views, attracting high-paying clients that work with me on a monthly basis. Social media is key. Once again, that's all you need to be able to scale to 5 figures a month. That's where all my clients come from, organically. I don't do any paid ads. I never done promos. Many in my niche, many designers do paid ads and promos. Even though they may be profitable, you're still eating on your margins. And also running ads, you have to put money up front and also develop that skill set. It's not as easy as people make it seem. You want to keep it simple, you want to keep it organic, and create a flow of consistent clients coming in months after month. In later videos, I'm going to go into what type of format that I used to gather millions of views and also to scale my freelance to the point of 5 figures, because there's different things that you're going to do depending on the level that you are. If you're starting as a beginner, the things that you're going to do are very different for what I'm doing now. When I started out, there's certain stuff that I wasn't doing now. For example, showing the lifestyle, because of course, there's not a direct correlation with me getting clients and me showing the lifestyle or what I do, etc. You should be focusing on gathering clients, and you should be optimizing your page, your different pages on social media to get you clients. And that's why I say to people, don't copy me at the stage I am now. I see so many designers that they quite frankly straight up just copy me and then it just doesn't work for them, simply because they are at a different stage of what they're doing, especially if you're a beginner. I'm able to do certain stuff because I already have an existing following. When you're starting out, you want to develop habits of consistency, of creating content, being always on flow with your creative ideas, etc. Stuff that actually helps you develop to get to the 5 figures mark, instead of doing stuff that I'm doing now, which is to maintain those 5 figures and to maintain my clientele. And as a beginner, you're still in the gaining phase. You're gaining experience, you're gaining skin in the game, and you're still in the building phase, which is very different than maintaining, which is what I'm doing now. If you ever been in contact with me, or if I ever given you any type of advice, you always know that I really push people to always post. Post like your life depends on it, because you never know where your next client is going to come from. You should be posting every day, multiple times a day. And that's how initially I was able to kind of break out of that learning curve and be able to create content that later on many designers in my niche are just copying, which I do take as a compliment, by the way. There's also stuff outside of social media that I do. Other stuff about my processes and how I communicate with clients, how clients communicate with me, how I run my whole design business. In a certain way I speak to clients, certain way they message me, how I vet my clients, how I pick the clients to work with. That is outside of social media, which becomes so important when you're able to scale to 5 figures, simply because at that stage, you're managing so many clients. And it's so important to be on time, to keep the same quality of outputs that you do for each and different client. Revisions also become a really important component of your whole business. And of course, making clients happy so they can come back. By the way, you don't need to start at 14 to be able to scale to the point I've gotten now. When I was starting out, the tutorials were not many. Nowadays, you have loads and loads of tutorials that talk about Photoshop and how to go about using the software. And the learning curve has become shorter and shorter, especially if you know how to fetch out the information that you need to learn how to use Photoshop. And if you dedicate yourself on a daily basis to learn in a short time frame that could take a couple of months, you'll be able to go from not knowing how to use Photoshop to be a beginner designer and getting paid right away. And it's very much possible for people to scale to 5 figures if you know, of course, how to use Photoshop, but there's also the business side, how to communicate to clients, how to go about getting paid. So mixing the two, design, knowing the softwares, and knowing how to gather their attention, the marketing, how to get paid, how to manage a client, communicate with clients, expectations one. So mixing the two, that's what gives you the designpreneurship that I've been talking about. And hopefully this has given you a rough picture on how I've been able to go from a student to a full-time professional with my design skill. Not only that, but being able also to make 5 figures a month with my skill set. That said, that's all for today. Leave in the comments any question that you may have, or even ideas for next videos that I should do. And I'll make sure to reply to your comments and listen to your suggestions for the future videos as well. Take care and see you on the next one.